Tonight's workshop is a study in Lotus. So, having lived overseas in Asia, lotus and the lotus flower, the lotus root, and the lotus leaves is a very big subject of a lot of Asian artworks. And I just recently bought a fabulous book, and it is Drawing Lotus. Now you see the Chinese writing up here. This is a Chinese produced book, and it's actually in both English and Chinese. So when you look at a section here, you see all the writing in Chinese here, but then you look on the other side, and there you have your English. Okay, so this book has both Chinese and English in it. These are not really easy to find, these books, because they are produced, I believe they're produced in China. Let me see. Yep, published in Taiwan, printed in Taiwan. So, but if you can find one of these books, it is the Chinese Paintings for Beginners. And in this case, it's book number 2. Again, Drawing Lotus. Oh my gosh, y'all. So inspirational. Every page has something on it that is so inspiring. So I'm going to be taking you through some of these um, shortly. But before we do that, I wanted to show you some of what I painted using that book for instruction and inspiration. And so these are um, images that I made on rice paper and another kind of paper that is a they call it a type of Juan paper, meaning that that's what you're going to paint on, but it's called cicada wing paper. So I'll show you that in a second. But these are some of the images that I drew based on the book that I just showed you. And this is the thin rice paper, the practice rice paper. But instead of using a Chinese brush like this, which you would normally think those lines look like they're from a little brush like this, I used a secret weapon. And that is the Pentel brush pen. So this is Japanese, and it has a beautiful brush tip to it. And the nice thing about this pen, let me take the top back off of there, is that it uses ink cartridges. So you see the cartridge right there, and these are replaceable. As a matter of fact, usually when you buy the pen, they give you 3 cartridges or 2 to 4 cartridges to go with it, depending on the configuration of the package that you get. These are amazing. They're perfect for doing calligraphy because there's just something about the bounce of the tip and the way that it feeds the ink in. It's absolutely perfect for illustrations and for calligraphy style, either English calligraphy or in this case, doing Chinese brush painting. So I highly recommend. Another cool thing about these Pentel pens is that this is the black one. You tell by the lid what the color is. So this one is black, but it also comes in, this is a sepia. So you can kind of see the difference there. It's a brown instead of being a black. And then there's also a sanguine, which is like a red brown, and a gray. So these are amazing for doing illustration work like what I just showed you. So this was actually done on the rice paper using that Pentel brush pen. And then this is on the what's called cicada wing paper. So it's a very, very thin paper, strong though, thin but strong. And I used the sepia one of these pens. So this is what it looks like on this is cicada wing paper. It's very, you see how you can see my hand right through it, right? So it's a very see-through type paper, perfect for not only painting on, but for using for all different kinds of mixed media, which I love to do. And it just gives you like that instant old look, right? And I used that Pentel pen with the sepia brown, the dark brown, to get these designs are drawn on there. Again, I was using the inspiration from the book that I just showed you. And then I went in using, now on the cicada wing here, so it's that very thin paper, but this is where I not only, now I'm using a brush. So instead of using the brush pen for this part of my Lotus study, I did grab one of these brushes. Actually, a couple of brushes. I used this big one. So this is a Chinese brush. It's made with natural hair. And you can see here, so it's made with natural hair. And this large size is what I used for this part down here on the lotus leaf. I just wanted something very loose. So I like, hey there, what is it? Roxy did that. Welcome in over on Whatnot. So I enjoy using the big brushes for those sweeping motions to get large areas covered. And then I use the smaller brushes for the detail. And so for the flower here, I was using one of these smaller brushes so I could get the detail. And then I went back in with some color with a medium size brush. So I had said on my website, which is deetsart.com, you can find an event for tonight's workshop. And in the events, when I publish the events, I put the supplies for the workshop. And so Asian brushes, when I say Asian brushes in the description, these are the kind of brushes that I'm talking about with the natural hairs. Now, if you don't have these kind of brushes and you don't have this kind of paper, don't worry, you can also use watercolor paper and you can use watercolor brushes. So for instance, these are my tried and true Princeton Velvet Touch watercolor brushes. You can absolutely do some of these same techniques using your watercolor brushes as well. So don't fret if you don't have these particular supplies. And then after that one, then I worked on my final Schwan paper that I like to use for Asian painting, which is a Yasutomo, what they call sketch paper. And it's a little bit thicker than those other papers that I just showed you. And so this is one that I did on the Yasutomo paper. You can see it's whiter. It's a little thicker. You can't really see my hand right behind it very well, right? And it takes the paint. It just takes the paint beautifully. So these are the types of things that to me, I consider studies. We're looking at various ways that the lotus grows and the lotus also begins to wane, meaning the flower's already done and the pod starts growing. That's what this one is about here, where the petals are falling off and the pod is beginning to show. So we're going to look tonight at the leaves and the flowers in different stages, and also maybe even the roots, because I think the roots are so interesting. The roots actually grow out of this little part in the center of the lotus right here. This will sprout out and become new lotus plants right out of this. It's crazy. It's crazy. And in Asia, we also eat lotus. So we eat different parts of the lotus during its growth, and it's delicious. I love it. So sometimes you might be in an Asian restaurant and it might say that in one of the recipes that it has lotus in it. And so these are the flowers that we're looking at, which are lotus. Now, speaking of the flowers, what I have done is I went on, not only am I using the book for inspiration, which I'm going to show you a few more of the pages in a few minutes. I also went out onto some of the royalty free websites. So I like to use Unsplash and Pixabay. And then recently I found Magnifique. And so I've been using those royalty free websites to come up with imagery that I can use to play with for my for this kind of project. And so these are jumping off places. I'm not reproducing exactly what's in the image, but I'm using it as a jump off for some of my Lotus studies. And so, for instance, this is an image from Unsplash right here. And I love the shape of the leaves. I think the leaves are great. There's a little flower bud coming up, and there's a flower. And then this is from Pixabay right here. And I liked it because it shows when the flower starts to fall over on its side. So it's already got all of its leaves, it's mature, but look at that beautiful leaf back behind it right there. Just so lovely. What I do is I take the images from these sites and then I put them onto one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper like this. And I just tell my printer, I select two pictures and I tell my printer that I want to print it at a 5 by 7 size. So you can easily fit two images on your piece of paper like that. So here's another one that's a mature flower, and look at these leaves. So the interesting thing about these leaves is the way that the edges curl right here. And so that's something that I was looking for, not only the flower to use as inspiration, but to look at the different leaves and see the different state of the leaves there. This one is a nice one. It's partly open, not completely open, but look at that color. Ah, the color is so beautiful of these. Now the leaves also have a life cycle. So they're like this and they first start to uncurl. So you can paint a leaf that's like this, where it's not all the way uncurled yet, and then it uncurls, and that's what the other pictures were that I showed you. And then they start to die off, so their edges start to curl, and that's what these are right here. You can see this leaf is beginning to curl here. They get torn in the wind, and just they get all kinds of gnarly, and they're beautiful. Now, something else I want you to notice in this picture, or this set of pictures, is this is what you might think of as your typical lotus, with these um, leaves that have a pointy tip here, and then they're kind of roundish here, right? But this is also another kind of lotus. So these are both lotus plants. It's just this lotus has really skinny leaves right here, you can see. So I just wanted to let you know, bear that in mind, that there are many different kinds of lotus. And so if you want to draw them or paint them with those little tiny, skinny, spiky leaves, that's fine too. Here is, look at how huge these leaves are in the background. They are crazy, but to me, this is like the perfect opening of a lotus. And then here is the little pod, meaning that all the leaves have fallen off, and now we're left with that pod right there. I think they call it a cupule or something like that. They call that. And then, of course, here is one that is a bud waiting to open, and see the leaf here just beginning to open, right? With it, the way that it looks like it's all curled up. Love this. Love that. And then here are some pictures that show that um, where the seeds are after the leaves have fallen off. This is just before everything falls off. I'm sorry, not leaves, petals. So this is just before the petals fall off. And then this is what it looks like after the petals have fallen off. I just, it's just something about it. I love it. Now, those are actual photographs that I got off of those reference websites. Then you can also look for vector files and illustrations on those other websites too. So how did some other artists maybe interpret these images? So here is one here, and I think this was off of Pixabay, but it could have been on Unsplash. I'm not sure exactly, but I liked seeing the way that this is much more of an illustration, right? And when I paint a lot looser than this. This is more of an illustration style with all those lines, and everything looks so beautiful and almost precise. I don't paint like that. I prefer to paint very sort of wishy-washy, more of a watercolor, more of a loose type of effect. So in Free Pick, so that's Freepik, they were taken over by a website, Magnifique, but you can still find some imagery on that Magnifique website. And actually, if you search Free Pick, Freepik, it will take you to the Magnifique website, and then you want to look for stock images. What I found on Magnifique is that there aren't very many images on there that are royalty free. Most of them, they want you to have a subscription and pay for it in order to use. But I did find a couple of illustrations, like little paintings here. It says right here, designed by freepick.com. You see that? Designed by freepick.com. So I just like to see how other artists interpret the subject. So this is a bud and there's your open, but you see how nice and loose it is. And then you have one of those little cups right there and the leaves nice and loose. So I'm more so go for this look than this look right here. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing is more of the Chinese um, painting type of look. And so the paint that we're going to use is a Chinese paint. The first is your black paint. So oftentimes you saw with my samples that I started with the black, right? So here I was using the black marker to do that. And we're going to start off when we go over the table. We're going to start off with the black marker so I can show you how cool it is. Um, and then the next one that I did on the white here, this black is actually Sumi ink. So Sumi ink is a black ink that you can get just in a bottle like this. So the Japanese make it, the Chinese make it. Oops, it would help if I turn the label forward. I like this format because it has a little nozzle here and you can just get a couple drops of ink out with this. And so I love the ink in this type of bottle. The company that I really like, and you can be pretty much guaranteed of its being, excellent quality, is Yasutomo. So you can see here, Yasutomo's Japanese, and it says Sumi ink. Okay, and it's the black Sumi ink. So that's essentially the same ink that's in here that I'm going to be using. Okay, but I do like the brand Yasutomo. So if you don't have any of it yet, I suggest that you get the Yasutomo. And this is another Japanese company. I don't know exactly what, but it says the company information down there, all in Japanese. Now, when it comes to color, so that's just our black. When it comes to color, there are a couple of ways that the color comes that works on the rice paper, okay? Because regular watercolor paper, regular watercolor paints in a tube, you can use that, but that works better on the watercolor paper. So a regular watercolor paper, let me show you something like this, right? This is a regular Canson XL watercolor paper. So if you're going to use your regular watercolor paints and brushes, as opposed to the Asian brushes and the Asian paints, I suggest that you do it on just a regular watercolor paper. Um, but if you're going to try it on the rice paper or the Zhuan paper, they call it, this is also a Yasutomo product, and it is their today they call it their Gansai paint, but you can see here it comes like this. They actually have it in these big pans like this, and they also have it in tubes. And it's your Asian, your either Chinese or Japanese painting paints. They're different from a regular watercolor because these paints have a little bit of glue in them that help them stay on the rice paper, so that when I wet mount my rice paper to a backing, if have a painting and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this painting, well, I'm not going to put it in a frame all filmy like this. I'm going to mount this onto a backing paper. And that process is wet. It doesn't have to be wet. There are dry ways to do it, but I usually do it with a something called Nori Paste, also from Yasutomo, and it gets wet. So this type of paint is specifically made, these Chinese or Japanese colors, with a little bit of glue in it so that once the color is dry on that paper, it will not re-wet because you don't want it re-wetting and then smudging your artwork after the fact, right? So it comes like this, or it comes in tubes as well. And you can see I love mine, but I can just buy a set of tubes and then refill this as I use it. Why do I love the pans? I love the pans because, let me pull this one out right here. I love the pans because they're really big. A normal watercolor set for regular watercolor paints, Western watercolor paints, have little tiny little pans. These Japanese ones or Chinese are big, right? That's because you need to be able to get the head of your brush in there to pick up the paints. That's why these are so big, is to be able to use them with your Asian brushes. And so this is the set, that's the set of colors there that come in your standard set of 12 from Yasutomo. And then there's a company called Marie's Chinese. This is Chinese painting colors. It's the one with the horse on the front. Marie's makes lots of different watercolor style paints. But hey, Jess, welcome in on Whatnot. Um, but they are not all suitable for doing Asian brush painting for the reason I mentioned earlier, wet mounting. Regular watercolor paints don't have that glue in it, so they're going to smear all over the place when I try to wet mount them. But these paints are designed, these are the traditional Chinese colors. And so they will stay in place when I do the wet mounting. Now, this happens to be a set of 24. It also comes in a set of 12 and a set of um, 24, 36. And this is what the tubes look like here, just like that. There's a little thing in the top right here so that when you open it, this is normally sealed and you have to use what's inside here to puncture it, and then it'll be ready to use. That way they come fresh, right? They can be years old, but they're going to be fresh because they've been sealed the whole time. Now there are a couple of colors that are not available in the sets that I think are essential for what I do with Asian painting. And these are the two colors right here that don't come in any of the sets. This is color number 215 and it's lemon yellow. And this is color 562 and it's called yellowish green. So these come in sets of 5, like 5 tubes of this yellow and 5 tubes of this green. And why is that? Well, because if you're doing a lot of Asian painting, you're going to need these in large quantities. Okay, so they don't come in the sets. There are other yellows and other greens in the sets, but I find that I need these two colors in order to do what I want to do with the Asian painting. And we're going to be using them for the studies when we get over top of the table. Now, here's an example of the 18 color set. There are actually 20 colors here because what's that? The yellowish green and the lemon yellow that I just showed you, right? And then these are the rest of the colors that came in the set of 18. Now, the set I have here is the set of 24. And what I want to show you is, hey there, Wise Insanity. Welcome in over on Whatnot. In this set, the tubes themselves have the color, they do have a color number, but the name is in Chinese. If you want to know what the color name is, on the inside of the lid, so here's the lid, on the inside of the lid, they put the color number and the English name for you. Okay, so if you were wondering, like, what the heck is that color that I'm using? You can take the number and look in the lid and it'll show you what the description or what the name of the color is. Okay. I found that very helpful. At first, I was like, what the heck? I don't know what the colors are. And then I discovered it was inside the lid. And I was like, oh, okay, okay, okay. So let me go back to showing. Oh, another thing that we're going to need besides that, what I just showed you, of course, we need a water container. So this is my favorite, the Faber-Castell Click and Go. It's a travel one. And I like the scallop edge because as I'm using my brushes, I can put them on there like that. It's awesome. I'm also using a brush rest that's right here next to me like that to keep my dirty brushes, the heads of the dirty brushes up off the table. And then you have to have some sort of palette dishes. These are Creative Mark palette dishes. I love these because they have little nubs on them right here. And that's another way that you can hold your brushes on top of there because the little nubs stop it from rolling off. So I have, well, I have a big old, right? They come in sets of 12. So I have a lot of these that I work from. And then I also have these really cool little melamine dishes. You can see here. These are like for soy sauce when at a restaurant, right? That's what they use them for. But I bought a set of 10 because then I can put these paints in there. And just like any watercolors, you can then go back in and reactivate them, right? So that's the strangest thing. It's like when the paint is like this, I can reactivate it. But once it's on the paper, it's glued in and it won't reactivate. It's awesome. If you put it on real thick, though, and then you get the back wet, sometimes the paint that's really thick on top will begin to release. So I always have to be super careful when I'm mounting, right? So let me show you a little bit more about this book, Chinese Paintings for Beginners, #2, Lotus. Okay, drawing Lotus. So I wanted to show you a little bit of what was in here. Um, from the beginning. What's nice about it is it's a book with different professors of Chinese painting um, in there. And so they each have their own little section where they show some of the bunches of their artwork and um, their techniques. Like they'll actually step you through making some of the lotus and some of the lotus leaves. So I love that. In the beginning of the book, it tells you about the different stages of the flower. So here we have the flower bud, and what I like is it's just black and white, so it's super easy to copy. But then there are also um, images, and then they start to show you paintings, so that you can not only see the actual photograph, but then you can see the artist's interpretation of them. And then here is the little pod after the leaves are gone and there's some renderings here. I love this one and this one. Oh, I think this is just fabulous. Couple of leaves and the little pod there. That way you don't have to try too hard to get the petals and you can use just black and it looks amazing. And then here is the flower when it's open. This is one with the rounder leaves, not the spiky leaves, but you see right in the center there, that's where that little seed pod grows in the center of the flower. So that's an excellent example. And then of course, pictures and artworks here. And then let me see this is the side view of the lotus. So without being able to see that seed pod in the middle, beautiful. And there's just so much in here. Now, there are what they call single petal lotus, and then there are, well, what I knew over in Asia, we called it the 1,000 petal lotus, or here they're calling it the double lotus. So that's a lotus that has a lot more petals to it. So here they're showing you how to render the the double petal lotus. Now, this type of rendering where you're just doing the outline is called the bone method of Chinese painting or Asian painting. And then there's the boneless method. So the boneless method means that you're just painting the petal, you're not creating an outline, okay, with your brush. But this is the bone style. Here's another one where they're showing you sort of leaning over like that. And then lots and lots of paint. Now, This is probably one of my favorite pages in the book. Duh, there are the leaves, right? You see how sort of crazy, and I love the different positions that the leaves are in. And so this is one of my favorite pages in the book, is just looking at the leaves and the different ways that the leaves grow. And there are some paintings here where people are doing studies, artists are doing studies just of the leaves, see, like that. So that, yeah, it's a thing. You can just do a study of a leaf and it's very cool. Now, this is one of the professors here, Chung Tai Chin, and his Lotus paintings. So, what I love about this picture is here he is. This is all his lotus all around him. So, you might think of lotus in a pond, right? Here in the United States, you think of a pond, and then you think of the lily pads and the lilies growing up, the lotus growing up. And here in Asia, check it out, man, they're big and they pop right up out of the water. Yes, sometimes the leaves are in the water as well, and they're growing way up. So I thought that was a really cool picture showing him amongst his lotus plants. And this is one of his paintings here. Oh my gosh. Isn't that crazy? Crazy, crazy, gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so this was the book that inspired me. Look, you see all the tabs I have across there? Insane. Now, I'm looking for the page where they show the illustrative versions. So, kind of in the middle of the book, around page, this is page 48 and 49, you see these drawings. So, this was somebody just doing the bone drawings, right? In black and white, and here as well. There's actually a big streak of paint across here because as I was painting, I got paint on it. Now I guess the book is mine, right? It's personalized. So um there's just too much in this book. Too much, too much. I could just spend the next month just painting out of this book. That's why I wanted to share it with you. And so we are going to go over top of the table and I'm going to show you using the Pentel brush pen, which I adore, to do some of those black and white renderings. And then, hey, CB Rob, welcome in over on Whatnot. And then we're going to use the paint tubes, and we're going to paint some of the Lotus, but in that very loose method. So before I get started over the table, I did want to show you, I'm going to be painting on top of a piece of felt. So the rice paper is rather thin, and as you're painting, the paint can go through the rice paper. So you do need some sort of something underneath it, whether you're putting some, you can work with it on top of newsprint and let it soak through into the newsprint. The traditional way that the Asians do it is you do it on top of a piece of felt. And you can actually find out on the interwebs, if you say calligraphy felt, then you will find pieces like what I have laid down here to work on top of with your rice paper. And we're going to be starting out with this. I'm dropping things with this is just a if you find Xuan paper, XUAN, and there are 50 or 100 sheets in it. That's usually our practice Xuan. It's also in Japanese, it's called Hanshi. Um, Hanshi paper is the practice paper. So it'll come in packs of 50 or 100, and that's what I use to warm up on is the Hanshi. So I'm going to whip out a piece of this Hanshi here. And so you can see, you can kind of see through it. See my hand back there. Woo! So it's not very thick. And it has a smooth side and a rough side. Depending on the type of artwork that I want to get out of it, I will paint on whichever side I want to get the effect for. So the rough side will give you more of a broken line when you're running your brush over it because it's rough. And then the smooth side will give you more crisp lines when you're working on that. But you can work on either side, okay? It doesn't matter which one. If you don't have the Chinese paper, the Zhuan paper. Just use your watercolor paper for what we're going to be doing right now. Okay, so I'm going to go up over top of the table. I'm going to start out with this Pentel brush pen, which has a permanent ink in it. But if you don't have that, you can use black watercolor, or if you have some of the Sumi ink like this, you can use the Sumi ink. I just take a few drops of the Sumi ink and I put it in a little bowl, and then I'll use for doing the outlines, I'll use a smaller brush. So this is a smaller brush. If you happen to have a regular watercolor brush like this is the size 8 Princeton Velvet Touch, you get a nice snappy tip there. So you can certainly use this brush. You're just going to hold it like an Asian brush, and you're going to, hey, there are little critters in here. And you're going to use more or less the tip of it in order to do the outlining, okay, in case you don't have these other supplies. But if you don't have the Pentel brush pen, I would highly recommend that y'all get it, because they are amazing for so much and excellent for illustrators. This will be in the video description. So later tonight, I'll go back and I will put a link to these pens. I'll put a link to whichever colors I can find that are out there on the internet right now. So we've got this is the sepia, this is the black, but they are just so good. We're going to start with that. But if you just have a regular brush and black ink or black paint, that's fine. Use that for what we're doing. So what I'm going to start with is some of these pictures that I have, and from nature. I'm going to start with the reference pictures that I pulled off the internet of Mother Nature. Okay. I'm going to take these images and I'm going to do some drawings from photographs from nature. I like doing this with the two 5x7s on a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, because then I can just fold it in half like this. And it's a lot easier for me to manage one picture here and one picture here when I'm working on my desk here. So hopefully, let me move this a little bit and hope that you can see it. Let's see if you can see that while I'm working on it. I think you can. Come on, move over, move over. There we go. Nice. Now I think you may be able to see it. But if not, just go out to Pixabay, type in lotus flower and leaves, and you'll have tons of images that you can work from. So what I'm looking at right now is uh, the lotus bud before it's open. Okay. And right behind it is a beautiful leaf that is also it's like this, and it's in the process of opening. I love that. So we're going to just use Mother Nature and do some drawing. Now, as I'm drawing, you can hold this like a pencil and do your drawing. That works. Or I also often will find myself holding this brush pen like an Asian brush. So when I hold an Asian brush, I don't hold it like a pencil like this between my index finger and middle finger like that. I don't hold it like that. I take the middle finger and I put it on top. So that's the difference between holding an Asian brush and a regular Western brush. Okay. And so often I find, even when I'm using the brush pen, I often will hold it like a Chinese brush. And the reason for that is I want to be prepared. I want to get my muscles ready for when I'm going to be using the Asian brushes, and I'm going to be holding the Asian brushes like this between my thumb, index finger, and middle finger. Now, sometimes for stability, I also bring my ring finger up here and I'll do those three with the thumb on the other side. Most of the time, I just put this ring finger underneath here like that. So that's how I hold the Asian brushes. So I'm going to hold it here like a Chinese brush instead of like a pencil, right? For doing this. And I'm going to when I work with Chinese brushes, most of the time I'm more up and down than you would be if you were with a pen or a pencil. Okay. So hold it a little differently, up and down. I'm going to look at the bud right here. and just sort of follow along with some of the, and this is warm up and practice. So do not worry about getting it right. That's not what we're doing here. The exercise is to just observe and begin to put brush to paper in a what I would call a non-threatening way, right? And hey, when you do art, it's your art, okay? It doesn't have to conform to anybody else's standard. It's your art and it's all good. It's all okay. So here we're going to come from up here like this, and we're going to sort of bring it down like that. And then we're going to bring this, ooh, nice and pretty like that. We've got another one over here. So I'm just using Mother Nature as my guide. I'm sort of bringing this down. I love the way that this ink goes onto this paper. Oh my gosh, it is really cool. If you spend too much time, if you don't get a move on, if you do not get a move on, this ink will start to spread on the rice paper. It's not like working on watercolor paper. It is not. It's a little less forgiving in that way, but I like it. I like it. I like it because it teaches you to just look at your subject and get a move on, y'all. Get a move on. Okay, let's put this here. And then it sort of comes down just a little bit like that. Ooh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Right here, we've got one that comes up and then comes over. Nice. Almost finished. There's a little bit here at the top that's coming from the other side up and like that. And then there's another one that's like right out over, sort of out over here. But then there's another one that comes up and sort of comes down over here. There we go. Nice. That looks good. So I've got my bud. So it doesn't have to be exact, y'all. We're just playing, we're experimenting. This is what I call Lotus studies. Hey there, welcome in, Wyatt. Is it Wyatt Treb Trill Tub? Sorry about that. I may not be getting it right. What we're doing is what I call Lotus studies tonight. I'm teaching an art workshop on Lotus and just showing some of my process for doing Lotus studies. And then we're going to move into ink using Sumi ink for black. And then we're going to move into color. So we're starting here with this. Now I can see right underneath there's the stem, but before the stem, there's just a little bit of a sort of a leaf here. There's a little bit of something right here. There we go. And then we've got the stem coming down. Nice. Fab. Now, I don't see it in this picture, but in Asian painting, oftentimes on the stem, they put little dots. So I like to put the little dots here. And the lovely thing is about the rice paper, it really takes this pen beautifully. And like I said, the longer you sit there, the bigger the dots will be. But if you do it very quickly, you'll get teeny tiny little dots. So I will show you some of the difference right here. We've got small dots and big dots. Just depends on how long you leave your pen on there. Isn't that fabulous? So that is um, a lotus bud. And then right behind it here, we have a big old leaf. So I'm following along sort of with the picture. And we've got some of this coming up this way, like this. And then it comes past here. So we're going to assume the leaf comes like this. And then the leaf comes over here, and then it comes up like this. And we've got some movement along the edge there. There we go. And this part is actually um, turning in this side right here. So about here, this turns in, and then we start to have this going on here. And then, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit of waviness to that one there as well. And then over here, what I just did there was the edge. So you see the edge right here? Now I'm going to put this part in the bottom of the leaf. So I'm going to come in, again, I'm holding it like a Chinese brush, and I'm going to bring this around, just around here. Nice and oh, beautiful. And the trick with the leaves is the little lines that are on the leaves. Can you see the little veins that are on the leaves? Oh, so cool. So this part of it right here kind of comes into a Y like this, and then it comes down. And somewhere underneath here in the center of the leaf is a little area like this. See the center of the leaf, and then the veins come out from that center. So I'm bearing that in mind as I do this. Let's see, there was just a little bit here, and it came down, and then it connects there. And then this actually, there's a little bit more here. You don't have to have the lines perfect, right? Because this is a study. I mean, I don't even have to have the lines perfect when I do the final version. That's a beautiful thing about art. Is it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just whatever your hand does is it's all good. So I'm just putting a little bit more of this here. And then I'm going to do a little bit more here. It comes down this way. Nice. Now you're starting to see a leaf, and you're beginning to get the feel that the leaf goes like this, right? Because that's the idea, is we want to be able to project that the leaf is actually moving in a particular direction. Nice. Now there's going to be a little bit up here as well, like that. And then down here, or there's a little bit right here, like that. And I've got something like that. And then maybe I will do just a little bit more like this. So now we've got that part of the leaf. And naturally, this part of the leaf, if I were actually putting color on it, would be lighter because it's on the outside where the light is. And this part of the leaf in here would be darker. Now, there are some lines that are just barely visible on the inside there. So I'm just going to use a very light touch. And I'm going to put some with just a light touch, like not even the whole thing. I'm not going to put all the lines there. I'm just going to sort of suggest that there's some lines coming down and in. The same is true up here. Just a little bit, giving the hint that there are some lines there on the inside. And here, are coming toward the middle, right? These lines are just coming toward the middle. And then I'm going to bring it out this way from here. There we go. So now we've got an illustration of a lotus bud and leaf. Yeehaw. Okay, that makes me very happy. Now we've got one that is open, and we're looking at it from what's called the side view. So we don't see here in this one, this is an upper side view, but you can see the center of it right there, right? Where this is a side view. Actually, maybe I'll use one of these for the side view right here. I like this one a lot. So that's the beauty, is we get to pick from all the references that are out there. We get to pick what we like. So I'm going to use this one right here as my inspiration for doing the side view. And let's see. Hey, hello over there on YouTube. I see there are some folks watching over there. If you would please hit the like button on YouTube, that would be awesome. And if you just popped in, I am right now, I'm doing some warm up illustrations of these um, Lotus studies using the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen. So there you go. Pentel Pocket Brush Pen, they call it. These are amazing. And, but I'm holding it like a Chinese brush instead of holding it like a pen or pencil in order to do this stroke work because I'm preparing my hands. I'm creating muscle memory for when I come in with a brush. All right. So, first, I'm just studying what these look like. What does the flower look like? And I'm following along with some images, some royalty free images that I took off of the internet. So, I'm going to start. The trick is always, where do I start? Where do I start here? Oh, okay. I think I'm going to start with this petal right here. Okay. So I'm going to start with that petal. It comes over and down. I'm barely touching the paper. That's the trick here. Because rice paper, oh my gosh, rice paper, which is I'm working on the Juan rice paper, and it takes the ink very well. So the longer I spend on the paper, the thicker the ink will come out. Right, let's do that. So now I've got this one right here, and I'm gonna start building the flower. Oh, it's starting to rain outside. I have a window right in front of me here. I can hear and see the rain. Okay, so I've got this first petal, and now I'm gonna build my next petal off to the side of it here. And this one comes down like this. And then not exactly, but kind of. And then from there, it goes down, sort of comes around because we're looking at the side of it, right? We're looking at the side of this petal. And then right here, we have another one that comes out and ooh, it's pretty. Now I'm doing the inside of it first, and then I'm going to come back. So this petal, you see how is curled. So I just did the inside curl first, and now I'm going to come and I'm going to put the outside of the curl on here. There we go. Right. And then we have another one coming off to the side here. So it sort of comes like this, up, and then over and around. And this also has a curl in it. So I'm going to put the curl in there. Nice. And that's why I use the reference pictures. I like to look and see how, what is the shape? What is the form? Now, later when I go and I'm doing the brush painting, if I'm not building the image first with black, if I'm just going in with color, I need to understand the shape of the leaf, how the leaf is built in order to know where to put the paint. So that's where these studies can really help. Okay, so we're going to go here now. And I'm bringing this one up like this. And then over and down like this. And then there's an edge right here. Nice. So that's that top part. Now over here, there's another little petal coming off the side here. It comes up. I'm just using a very light touch. Trying to use a light touch here. Okay, and then we have, now I'm not going to build this other petal out here yet because it, they run into these bigger petals up here. So I'm going to start on these bigger petals right here. Hopefully you can see that fine in the picture. So I'm going to come back to this area over here. Go like this. So from right here, I'm just looking at, this is a good time to like practice your observation skills, right? All right, cool. There's actually like a little thing coming down like this. There's a little thing that comes down like this. I'm just sort of putting in a little bit of the details to give a feel for where things go. There we go, like that. Nice. And then, so that's this petal right here. Then there are a couple of petals up here off to the back. They're just sort of opening. There's one back there in the back. And then we move along. And now I've got this petal back here. Ooh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to do this petal first. So this is where it comes in handy to practice. Practice. Practice is good. So I'm just bringing this one up and I can see that it's just sort of on its side there. Comes up to about here and then it starts to come back in like this. There we go. And then right here, there's another one. Comes up, goes like that, and then starts to come down like that. Nice. And I'm going to just put a little line because I can see the little line there sort of growing like that. There's one more little petal back here. So I'm just going to bring this, whoop, maybe it's better if I do it down that way. And that one goes like that. All right. Oh, we're almost there. Almost there. Let's go ahead and get this last two petals in right here. So I'm going to come from here and this sort of sweeps. And then there is a big petal that comes in just like this. Pretty. And that just sort of goes down like that. And then there's one more petal for this side view. There is a side view of a lotus flower, and that helps to, I'm going to put the little dots on here, which are, there are little fuzzies that grow on the lotus. And so that's why they generally, when the Asians or the Chinese do the stem, they usually put these little dots of some sort or little hairs on it because they're little hairs that come off of that. Okay. Oh, that was fun. So that one, but what I really like about this one is I like the leaves that are around this one. So let's try to put another leaf around here. There's actually I'm going to do the outside part of the leaf right now. So I'm just going to do the outside part of the leaf that sort of comes down like this, and then it comes up like that. And then this comes around like this, gets bigger, and then comes in like this. So that is the curled over part of the leaf. And then we've got the back of the leaf sort of comes in like this and around. So I'm going to bring it like as though it is coming here, back behind it. There's right in the center of the leaf, or it's not actually exactly in the center, it's a little bit off to one side, is the center of the leaf right there. So I'm going to bring the center sort of right here. So I'm going to come off the edge here, and we've got the edge kind of goes like this. There we go. And this is actually a flipped over side like that. So now we've got a leaf back behind this one, like this big leaf right here. Just looking at how these things radiate out. So this is going to come up here like that, right? Because you're going to continue it as you bring these lines up here. It's going to continue this way. And so there'll be something that comes up this way here. I'm just sort of, at this point, I'm kind of guessing from what I can see here. right? So I'm using that as a reference, but it doesn't have to be exact, right? And then it'll come over this way, and then I got some going here and some coming over here like that, right? Just to give you the feel that it's coming up like this, and then it comes over like this. There we go. And the same is true here. And then it's gonna like come like that. So just to kind of give you a reference that it's going down and then coming up. And so this is putting a nice bit back behind this. I like the way that there's this radiating out the back of the it's behind the flower, but I like the way it comes from the leaf like that. You don't have to put all that detail in, especially when you're painting with the big brushes. We're not going to be putting in a lot of detail like this. Okay, so I'm going to go like this, right? I'm just giving the feel that this has a bit of movement to it. There we go. Okay, so now I've got another leaf back behind here, and I'm just going to bring another like one up there like that. There we go. So that gives you the feel. Okay, there's a leaf behind it. The leaf has some curl to it. I love the curl to the leaves. I think they're fabulous. Okay, so we've got a bud, we've got a side view. Now we need to do the view like this, where we have this in the center. I think they call it a cupule. At least they do in the book that I showed you earlier. So we're going to do, before I do the cupule flower, I'm going to do that on another piece, and we're going to use some of the ink and a brush like this to do that one. So we'll hold this aside. We'll do that one in a minute. What I want to do right now is the hold on, this right here. Oh, so cool looking. So that we can put it right up here and then hey, right? All right. So I'm going to make this look like they're in the same family here. So I'm actually going to put a leaf coming this way, like the edge of a leaf right here, so that it looks like I'm looking at, okay, I'm going to do this just a little bit. And then I'm going to bring some lines, right? I'm trying to tie these two in so that maybe they're in the same scene, just because, because I'm at it and I'm like, oh, that would be cool. Let's do that. So I'm going to assume maybe that the center for this one is right here. And then I'm going to bring it up like this. It doesn't have to be. See, now I'm riffing, y'all. Now I'm riffing, and I am just creating my own sort of fantasy leaf here. And let's just do this. And I've got to bring one of them here, and then it comes up like this, right? Because that part of the leaf right there is the part that's curled under. So let's bring this up here. And then we've got this coming like this. So I'm working from what I've learned from working from nature. And now I'm actually creating my own leaf that's back here in the back, just sort of making it up. There we go. That works. Right now I've got a leaf in the background there. I've got a leaf here that's folding over, and I've got another leaf up here. Nice. So let's put one of these sort of showing up here somewhere. Now it's turning into a composition. Ah! That was not the intent. It's just, oh, the intent is just practice, 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 practice. So this is part of the building muscle memory, right? And when you look at a picture like that, like this, like right now it's looking in that direction. But what if in my mind, I have to flip it over and have it looking in that direction, right? Ah! So I'm putting the picture right here, and I'm actually going to have it look in like right here, kind of. So instead of going that way, I want it to go that way. So now I'm just sort of looking at the outline of the top here, and I'm going to just sort of start bringing it around and around. And it has this beautiful sort of organic shape to it. So I'm just going to do some sort of random circles here. They're very organic. I'm not trying to have them be even. I'm just using the tip of my Pentel brush pen right here to make these little marks. And then I'm actually going to put a couple in the middle instead of only having one. There, nice. And as you can see in the picture, they're little, it actually has these really cool little round seeds inside there. So each one of these little cups has a round seed like this. Uh-oh, it looks like we are disconnected again, and now we're back. Oh my gosh, we're just having so much fun tonight, right? So I'm creating the little round lotus seeds that are inside each one of these little sections. You don't have to be this precise. You don't have to do this part. I just thought it was cool. I like the way that the seeds just grow inside these little organic sections. And the seeds, for the most part, are pretty much round. Okay, there we go. Oh, lovely. All right. There's this really cool little ridge. If you look here in the picture, there's this little ridge that goes around there, which I think is really neat. So I'm going to just use a light touch, light, and put a little bit of that ridge in there. And it looks very cool and sort of organic, that little rim. There. Huh. Okay. I like those shapes. Love it. And then this goes sort of like this and like this. There's a little bit of a wrinkly part, and then the stem comes down right from there. So we're going to make it look like it's part of this picture, y'all. Like it's just continuing right down from the picture. There. So now we've got the bud. We've got the side view of an opening flower. We've got a flower that's already flowered, and now we have this seed pod behind it. Ooh, I love the way the seed pod came out. There's something to be said for illustration as opposed to using the brush and just doing the brush version. This makes me very happy, y'all. So I'm just looking to see if I want to put this leaf in the background. And I usually tell my students, if you have to ask, should I? The answer is always yes. So because the thought came to mind, gee, maybe I should put this leaf back behind here. The answer is yes, darling, put the leaf back behind there. But we're kind of going to put the leaf back in this area right here. So, wow, I did not expect to build a whole composition here, but that's where I'm being led to is to do that. So I'm going to assume that the leaf is coming from, where's it coming from? It's coming from over here. And there's the bottom of the leaf. And then here is the leaf uh, stem. So I'm just bringing the stem here and it's going to go back behind here. right? There's the stem for it. And now the cool thing about this leaf is that we're looking at the underside of the leaf right here in this image. So isn't this fun to take these various images and like pull them together and play? Really, this is key if you want to do this kind of illustrative play, is get yourself one of these Pentel brush pens. Of course, you can use any other kind of permanent pen. This is the Micron pens. I love these. Um, Winsor& and Newton makes a fine liner as well. They're fabulous. I just, if you're going to work on rice paper like this, which is just so beautiful to do this kind of illustration on, I suggest you get yourself the Pentel brush pen. Okay, so this is going to come here, and then it's going to come this way. And then it's gonna go back behind. This is a big leaf, y'all. So it's gonna come here like this. And then it's gonna begin the ruffle here around the top, and another little ruffle, and another big ruffle right here, and another big dip right here. Wow. Okay, that is one big leaf right there. And then this is gonna come up this way. So we've got the back end of a big leaf right here. Now, when I'm looking at this leaf, you see how this is where part of the leaf is falling over like that. So now I have to put this part in right here. So that is the continuation of the leaf itself like this. There we go. All right. And over here also, this is like this. So that's going to show that there's some three-dimensionality to that leaf. That's cool. And then this just starts to go like this right from here, right? And then over here, we've got a big bit that comes here. And then we can start sort of building out this back side of the leaf right here. And here, these come like this. There, beginning to build that. Ah, that's fun. That is fun. Okay. So this whole thing just it's becoming, it has decided to become, right? It said, no, I want to become something, mom. And then we also have one that comes up here like this. And then it begins to branch out. And this actually branches out here as well. There we go. And something that comes along this way. So I'm not going to, yeah, you know what? I was going to say, I'm not going to bore you. Hey, Chop Saw, welcome in. I'm not going to bore you with doing the whole thing, but you know what? I'm kind of in the mood. I'm in the mood to do it. So I'm actually going to bring this here, and this comes down this way and then kind of goes like that, right? And we're going to bring this up here some more. That looks good. That matches up to that one right there. And then we're going to bring another bit right here. It's just going to come along here like that. Okay. And then we've got to make it look like there's another one that sort of comes out this way. Nice. And you know, I'm going to have to put a little bit more in here somewhere. It just goes back behind that one. There we go. Oh, lovely. How fun is that? Okay, so I wasn't intending to kind of create an illustration, but there you go. Sometimes art just happens, right? So the next thing we're going to do is this one where it shows the little cupule right there. So the flower is more open and we can actually see that. We have a beautiful lotus leaf that's beginning to die right here. And I thought we would try this, and I'm going to use a brush for this instead of the brush pen. We're going to move on to the brush. And I wanted to try this beautiful, um, I want to do this process on this beautiful mulberry paper from Korea. So what we were just working on was a Juan paper from Japan, but this is a gorgeous mulberry paper from Korea. I'll show you what the packaging looks like. And I like it because it has a little bit of a sort of a, it comes in different colors. And it's funny because, so this is Korean. I lived in Korea for 3 years back in the 70s. And it's a paper that can also, it's thick enough to go through your printer. So I actually do some of my prints on this beautiful mulberry paper that's made to be thick enough and strong enough to go through your printer. And it comes in a bunch of different colors, like a rainbow of colors, which is really cool. White, and this one I like, which is their off-white. So we're going to do a sketch with the bone style. So the bone style means that before you put any color paint on, you start with a black outline. And so I'm going to do this in the bone style. Right now, we're just in the stage of experimenting and creating our outlines. You can always go back and add, paint color to the outlines later if you like them. Now, um, now that I'm not working with the pen, so this Pentel brush pen is what I was using earlier, so that the ink flows in a very controlled way off of that pen. Now we're going to move to the Sumi ink. So this Sumi ink is fluid, and this is a piece of the Practice Schwan rice paper that I folded in half. And I put the rough side out on purpose because I mentioned earlier it has a smooth side and a rough side. I put the rough side out on purpose because this is what I use to check the level of my paint. You see the black? There's the blackest black, then the next level down, a little bit grayer, a little bit grayer, really gray. So I check my paint color using a piece of the Juan paper folded in half. So let's move this so that you can see this. And then we have plenty of water here too. Nice. And now I need to get out some ink. So I'm just going to take this and put it in a dish. So I have these dishes. And I usually don't shake it. I usually stir it like this. Oh, welcome in over on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, I would encourage you to smash that like button, please, and subscribe. So I love these nozzle tips because I can control just getting a little bit of the black ink out, right? So when I'm doing a bigger painting, I use more ink. But when I'm doing a smaller painting like this, then you can use less ink. So I got my brush wet first. So you want the hairs of the brush to already have some water in them. All right, now we're going to pick up some of this black ink. And I don't want it to be too um, dense. So I'm rubbing it on the side. I do this a lot where I rub it on the side so it's not overly full, because if it's sopping wet when I put it on this paper, it's going to spread and give me big spots. And I don't like that. So I'm doing it. I did that so that it's not too terribly wet. Let's see. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. Okay, cool. So we're going to use the, hey there, Eden Light Gems. Thanks for the share. I appreciate it. Right now I'm doing I'm teaching an Asian brush painting Lotus tonight. And so I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. And I love the stones that I got from you. So anybody that's on the Whatnot stream, If you're not already following Eden Light Gems, oh my gosh, she has the most gorgeous stones. Gorgeous. So I would suggest give her a follow. Thank you for sharing. So I'm working from this image that I got off of one of the websites, either Unsplash, Pixabay, and I said, "Give me." Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I can't, I can't wait to sit down and make some like stunning jewelry with the goodies that I got from you. It'll happen soon, for sure. So I'm going now. I'm using the bone method. So that is, I'm going to build a structure using the black ink and my Asian brush. And I'm using a smaller Asian brush instead of, normally I'm painting with one of these fluffy ones like this or up to this size right here. But right now when I do bone, I like to use this little bit thinner one. I think this is a Famui brush. Yeah, one of the Famui brushes. So I'll make sure that I put a link to it in the description of my YouTube videos. So Eden Light, I don't know if you have followed me on YouTube, but right here is my YouTube, Tristina Dietzelm's Artist. You can just type in Tristina and Artist and you'll find me on YouTube. And these workshops that I do on Sundays on Whatnot, there's a painting workshop in the beginning, and then I do some art auction at the end. And when I do that, I save the workshop portion to YouTube. So then you can always go to the live tab. Ah, you've always wanted to learn how to paint. Well, you're in the right place. Oh, and so I'm going to do the bone method. I'm going to build a structure right now. Again, this is all part of the study portion of doing of picking a subject and then doing it. Last week we did this with the grasshoppers. So it was grasshoppers on a pineapple. And so I did lots of practice runs like this, building muscle memory, meaning building up how I'm going to, the strokes I'm going to make with my brush. I did a lot of practice, right, of the grasshoppers. So this week we're doing where we're doing the outlines like this from some pictures to get a feel for, okay, what is the structure of a lotus? What's the structure of the bud? What does it look like from the side? What does the little cupule look like once the leaves fall off? What do the leaves look like? And then, this is a practice or what I call a study, so that later when we go to just the big fluffy brushes like this, and we're not building a skeleton with the bone method, we know what to do with our brush. So here I've got a small Asian brush. This is the Famui number 3. And I'm holding it like an Asian brush again. So I have my thumb, my index finger, and my middle finger on it like this. And I might sometimes put my ring finger here. Other times I put my ring finger under as I'm painting. And I'm going to be holding the brush most of the way straight, not necessarily all the way straight. I usually go just a tiny bit off of straight, but I'm looking at this and I'm going to, again, building muscle memory. It doesn't have to be right. It just, it's your creation. Don't worry about it. Life is good. Now, the cupule that's in the middle, or the area where the seeds grow, it's right now I've got a petal in front of it. Now I can choose to leave the petal there, or I can choose to paint it without the petal there. It's up to me. And so I think I'm going to paint it without that petal. I'm going to put the petal, instead of covering that center, I'm going to bring it down a little bit so it doesn't cover the center. So I'm going to start with this part in the middle of this beautiful flower. Ah! Here we go. It's okay. Just do it. Just do it. There we go. So that's the center. There's the center. And then there are the little seeds that are like growing in there. So I'm just sort of, you can make them perfectly round. I don't like to make mine round. I like to make mine a little bit wonky. I think it's fine. It's fine. There we go. I'm just sort of building them in there. There. So that is the center right there. And then it comes down just a little bit like this. All right. And then I'm going to leave this area right here blank because there are a whole bunch of these little fibers in there. And so I'm going to do that with a different color. Well, let's say that I'm doing this whole thing in just black, just the black Sumi ink. So if that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and put some of these little tiny bits in here like this. They just sort of come out and then they have a little something something on the end of them. I don't know exactly what, so I'm just sort of improvising, right? You just want it to look like there's these little fibrous hairs coming out of there. And they're going to come out this way as well. Some are going to be back behind it as well as in front of it. So it's okay. It is a-okay, y'all, to improvise, okay? I'm looking at the picture for reference, but it doesn't have to, I don't have to stay true to what's there because I'm a painter, so I can do whatever I want. And I think that's part of the learning process over time is that it's okay. You don't have to render exactly what you see. It's okay to put your own like spin on things. Okay, so this is giving me a little bit of, that's kind of the idea. Let me bring it up closer so you can see what I'm talking about. Right inside here, right? See the little filaments, the little hairs underneath there? So that's what I'm drawing right there. Now let's take a look at putting some petals in here. Which one do I want to put in first? I think I'll do this back one right here because it's pretty prominent. Remember, this is a sketch, so do not worry if you're like, it's not true. It's not perfect. Relax, relax, just breathe. It's okay. It's just paper. It's just paper and ink, right? It's so easy to change it. You, okay, there we go. And then this one comes in here. So I'm looking at the picture and building my petals. Hey, okay, there's a big petal that comes out here. Like this, and then it kind of goes like this, and then this actually comes down like that. There we go. Okay, and then we've got another one that starts here, comes out like this, and then it comes around in here and down, and then it actually comes from here down this way. All right. Now, so I'm showing you the process of kind of what I go through to observe and then put the observation onto paper. And this is my first time working with this particular image. So oftentimes, if it's something where I do want to render the image, I'll do it several times. So there's no pressure because you're just going to likely do it over and over and over again. So it just relax. It doesn't matter. Okay, so this side is going to come down like this, and this comes like that. All right, so there's a petal there. There's another petal that comes around like this, and it kind of comes up like this. All right, and then there's another, oh, there's a petal hiding down below here, like this, and then it comes up, and it actually comes in and up like this. So we've got a petal, a petal, a petal. Okay, we're doing it. We're doing it. And you notice I haven't had to change my ink. That's because these natural hair brushes, the Asian natural hair brushes, oh my gosh, they hold so much ink. It's awesome. It's awesome. So this one that was covering up the center, I'm going to wait on that one. Welcome in, visitor 17 over on whatnot. Welcome in, welcome in. I'm doing a Lotus study workshop tonight. And I'm using an Asian brush. So this one comes up like this, and then it actually comes around like this. And then it comes from here, and then it comes in like this. Nice. Okay, there's a petal there. And then there's a petal right in here that just sort of does this. And then it comes around this way. And it comes like this. Nice. Ooh, we're getting it. We're getting it. So see, I completely ignored this one petal inside there. It's okay. It's your painting. You're allowed to do whatever you want. Let's see. Now I'm going to go from this petal and I'm going to start bringing it this way to meet up with this one right here. So, um, actually, in order to do that, I have to put this petal in right here. So it's going to come up here and then it's going to come down and around like that. There we go. And right behind it, there is another beautiful petal that comes out like this and then down. And then right in here. Oh, right there. Okay, there's that one. And then I've got another one that comes out here. There. All right. So that is the Lotus. Now I'm feeling like a couple of things. One is there's a little right underneath here, there's another little petal hiding. And I feel like it's a little light on this side and nice and open and bushy on this side. So I am gonna draw that in. So you get to make stuff up, y'all. If I go, I want come on, Mother Nature. I'm gonna put another leaf or another petal right in here. And I'm gonna bring it like this. There. So now there was a partial petal there, but I just added another one that sort of sticks out a little bit more. There we go. Okay, that works. Let's just do that. Okay, so I'm happier with that. This one out here, if I were looking at it with a critical eye, I'd say, wait a minute, that doesn't come to a point. That would need to come to a point if I were trying to be a perfectionist here, right? Whatever. It's okay. It's okay. I have a tendency to want to be perfect at everything. And it's like, no, don't do that. I'm just bringing this in just a little bit more, bringing this down. There we go. Okay, that's good. That's good. I have to get over my tendency to want to overwork something, especially with Asian brush painting. It's like, oh my gosh, most of it is just very quick, blah, 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 like that. Yee. Okay, now I'm going to build the leaf that's up here. That's so cute, so pretty. The leaf is very rolled over. So I'm going to grab some more ink. And what I showed earlier is I fill the brush with ink and then I get quite a bit of the ink out. Because if the brush is too wet, too sopping with ink, when I put it on the paper, it'll spread a whole bunch. And if there's too much, if you feel like there's too much ink on your brush, you can wick some of the ink away and you can test it on your piece of test paper. Okay, so let's what I want to do here is I want to put the stem. We're gonna because these have a stem, a nice stem to them. Okay, there we go. And they also have little hairs or little dots on the stem. So I'm just adding a little bit of hairs and dots. It's fun to just sort of jump around and play with that, right? It's you're just mimicking Mother Nature like that. Okay, cool. And then we're going to put the leaf up over here. So let's do the edge of the leaf. The leaf is beginning to decay, so it's curling. Now let's do, there's an edge to the leaf right here. It sort of comes down and then up, and then it's rolled over this way. And then it has like a section that comes over here, and then it's rolling up. And this is a little bit, just a little bit. I'm moving the brush around a whole bunch because the leaf actually is not even. If you look at the edge of the leaf there, it's not even. So there is now in the center of the leaf. It's really cool. There's this big old center right here. And then there's the parts that come out of the center. So they're actually going to come, I'm actually looking at the veins here, and they come out and then they go up like this, and then they come around like that. So if I'm sort of following what I see, then it will give you the illusion of the shape because, of course, it's flat, right? But I want to get the illusion of the shape going here. There we go. So I'm looking carefully at those veins to try to follow along so I can give that illusion of the shape. So let's see, what else do we have going here? It comes like this, and then it sort of comes up like this, and then we've got some goes this way and some goes over here, and then this one comes up and then sort of goes over like this. And we've got like that. Okay, so I'm trying to give that illusion of it going and having that. Now I can see that I'm not going to get the exact roll, but that's okay because we're just, you know what? We're spitballing here. And I'm just looking at the picture and making it up as I go along. It's okay. It's okay. And then this comes sort of like this. There we go. If somebody looks at this, I guarantee you they're going to know, oh, that is a lotus, right? You're going to know from looking at it. This is what the giveaway right here. This part of it in the center, that's the giveaway. And then the lotus flower, it does this. What I'm showing right now is it does this wild sort of and has that center, and then the veins go out from there. So it's following the path that a lotus normally goes in. Okay, let's just do that. Nice. So we've got the lotus leaf back behind it, and then right down from that center part is where the stem is going to come. And broop, then I have to imagine it coming all the way down here. And then bring it like this, just a little bit wider once it's down here. Nice. Okay. And we're gonna the same thing on the stem of the leaves also have these little filaments, little hairs on it. And actually it's much darker underneath here, but I'm gonna do that in just a second because I have to add some water to my brush in order to get gray, because right now my brush has lots of black in it. And sometimes you want a little bit of gray. So I'm going to have to add some water. I'm going to add some water to this to get it to turn gray. So there are a couple of ways I can do that. I can take some of the ink. Usually what I'll do is put it in a different bowl like this if I want gray. So this brush already has tons of black in it. So I'm just going to take a little bowl and a spray bottle or a dropper. So I also have droppers here so I can go into my water and then I can put a few drops of water on there. And now it's not as dark. Okay, so let's do this. Now I'm beginning to get an ink with more water in it, so it's going to give me a gray. Now we're going to test that on here. Ooh, that's a dark gray. That's like too dark. Okay, no worries. I'm going to grab another bowl because this is what I do in my studio when I'm trying to create different gradients of black, right? So I just put some more black in here and then I add some more water to try to get a lighter gray. There, now that's lighter. So when I'm working with ink and I want these different gradients of gray, I always have a whole bunch of bowls because it's like, okay, this is the darkest dark, this is the middle dark, and this is the lighter dark. And this isn't even as light as I go. I can go where I just have a hint like this of gray. Let's see. So that's not quite to this level, but I think for what I want to do, I think it's plenty. It's plenty. Plenty light. Let's go with just a little bit more water, just a slightly lighter. Now you don't want, like I said, you don't want your brush to be sopping wet when you put it on here, okay? You want it to be just lightly wet. So that's why I use the side and I'm pushing on the belly of the brush here to get a lot of the water out. I still want the color in there, but I'm trying to get a lot. I don't want it to be soaking wet when I go to do this. Okay, let's put that one there and put that one there. There we go. So let's add some gray to this. Think. See how I have a light gray now? That's why I have my test paper so I can test it and see where I am in my gradients. So for sure, I need to now with the brush is straight. I need the brush to be like at a little bit of an angle. So I just wanted the hairs to be at a little bit of an angle so I can come in here with some gray. Yee, right? And start putting in some shadows. So I want some gray down below here. Oh, I definitely want gray here, right? I'm just building a little bit of dimension. I want some gray in here. If the black is already dry, it's not going to move. Okay, that's the beauty of using a sumi ink is that once it's dry, it's permanent. Woo! Yeehaw! Okay, I'm just looking at my picture and seeing where there's some more, where I need some more gray. So there's a little bit of gray here. There's actually a lot of gray on this leaf. And there's a little bit of gray down in here. So I'm just playing around, making sure that I have a little bit of just adding a little bit of extra dimension to these different areas. Okay, so here I've got a little bit of gray in here. I've got a little bit of gray in here, right? Not too much, just a little bit, just enough to get the idea across. And here. So I'm using the brush now in what's called an oblique. So I'm using it on a little bit on its side, right? Just to sort of get a little bit of the grayness in there. And this does not have to be like perfection. All right. It's more of a suggestion than anything. There we go. Up here, there's a little bit of grayness in here and here. And here, this one has a lot more grayness because it's really in the background, right? There we go. This one has a little bit of gray here. I'm just going to make it up for this one. I'm going to put a little bit more gray in there. Oof. Yeah, we want a lot of gray in there. And a little bit more. Yee. I don't want it to be too wet, so you can always use this to get some of the wetness off because I don't want it to be too wet, but I do want it to be a little bit more in there. Now that's slightly darker, so I'm actually going to apply that in some other areas here just to darken a little bit more some of these. Isn't that fun? So you're already seeing some dimension out of these leaves, and we've got the bones that were built from the black lines. Yay. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this coming this way. And I'm going to do a little bit of this because right here it's going to be dark, right? I'm coming like that. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to actually leave this area um, without putting gray in there. How about I go just another little uh, layer right down here so it just gets a little bit darker, right? So that's the darkest gray right there. Now I want to do some of this leaf up here because right now the leaf looks a little bit flat. So I need to apply some gray in order to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm back into the gray again, get lots of it off, lots and lots and lots of the water. You see how much came out of there, out of the belly of the brush? So it was quite wet and I don't need it so wet. So I use the side of my brush, the side of my container a lot to get paint off. And then we're going to test it right here. Okay, cool. It's a nice gray. It's actually a little darker right in here. So I'm going to do this. It's also darker along the edge right here and a little bit darker right down in here. A little bit darker in there. Right? I'm just giving the idea that there's a little bit of structure and dimension here. Okay, sort of in the center. Of course, the center's a little bit dark where the leaves are coming down. There we go. Like that. Does that look good enough? I think I need just a little bit more in here. I'm going to bring that up like that. Okay, I think I'm done. Sometimes the hardest thing is knowing when to say it's done and just stop. So again, I consider this a sketch. This is not like, I mean, it can be a final painting. It's just that for final painting, I want to use color. But in terms of a sketch, it looks fabulous. And so I'm also going to get a little bit more. Let me get some of that the middle black right here. And I'm going to sign it with the middle black. So again, it's very wet from having had water in it. And I don't want it to be too wet. Otherwise, my signature is going to go everywhere. I don't want that. So here, I'm going to put my signature right here. Ooh. There we go. So I'm holding the brush, Chinese brush hold. 20, 26. Oh, lovely. There we go. Yee! I wasn't planning on making a finished painting. I was just planning on doing some sketching, but it seems like tonight all of my sketches want to be finished paintings because this was the sketch that we started with. And this one I'm using a brush, right? And I'm using the bone method. So I'm creating all of these outlines. This is using the bone method as well, creating the outlines, but instead of using a brush, if you weren't here earlier, I was using the Pentel brush pen, which has a cartridge in it. So it feeds the paint into there and you don't have to keep dipping. But then you only get this, you only get the black, right? If you have the black pen. It also comes in a gray pen, which is awesome because then you can do your black sketching and then you can come back in with the gray and put the gray in, and it's just from a brush pen, which is very convenient, right? Um, but I like the wishy-washiness of using a brush. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to work with um, the bigger brushes, okay? And we're not going to do the bone method. We're just going to use paint. But I go through the this is what I do when I start a what's called a study session is I will use the practice rice paper, Juan paper, and then I'm exploring um, what the forms are so that when I come in with a brush where I'm not making the skeleton, I can paint the form. And so that's where I have to do practice, 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 practice. This one, I'm looking a little more at the shading. So I'm taking it from line to line and shade. And now we're going to go to color. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So let me show you two that I did with color earlier, if you weren't here earlier. Well, I didn't do them today, but these are the ones that I did put color on. So this one, we're going to do something similar to this. And this one, this is the leaf. There, I did not build the structure of the leaf. I just went in with a big brush and created the leaf. And then with the flower, you can see that I did do a little bit of, instead of putting a color in, I did the bone just for the flower, but it's a very loose bone. Can you see that? It's not what I would consider tight like these. This is much more tight. And this was a much more loose with a bigger brush. And then I went in and just popped in a little bit of color. And then this one was where I used a little bit of the black. So I did a little bit of bone work to create the that cupule in the middle, and then I just went with very soft color in there in order to create the rest of it. So we're going to do something with color right now, as opposed to the bone structure here. But we've already done our case study. We've done our studies like this. So now I should be ready to do something loosey goosey like this and with color and black and not have to be so tight and to create the bone structure. So let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. Um, what paper do I want to do this on? All right. Earlier I did use some Hanshi practice paper. And then the next one we did on this Korean paper. And now we're gonna, oh, let me show you the paper that those brown ones were done on. So the one that I just showed you a second ago, this one, this is a super thin, but very strong type of paper. And it's called cicada wing. So cicada, which is a type of insect, cicada wing, they call it. It's not made with cicada wings, but it has the translucence of a cicada wing. And I like that it comes in this antique color, is awesome. So you can see here, they say that it is cicada wing rice paper. Isn't that fun? Ultra thin, they call it. Oh my gosh, it sure is ultra thin, but it's strong. It's unbelievably strong for the way that it's so thin. But what I like to do my final artworks on is something like this. That is a Yasutomo sketch paper, they call it. But this is a Hosho paper, Hosho. The other one was a Hanshi paper. That's the thinner practice paper. This is a Hosho paper, which is a thicker paper. Even though they call it sketch paper, it's still it's Hosho, it's thicker. So this is by Yasutomo, and it comes in this pad with 48 sheets. And so I'm going to show you, it's much more dense. It's a much denser paper, right? This is what I like to do my finished works on, is this Hosho sketch pad. It's about a size 9 by 12. Um, and then there are also, Hanamura has a sumi paper that's much larger. So if you want to do larger work, I highly recommend the Hanamula paper. So this is my final version. So let's pick something. Maybe I'm going to look in the book. If you weren't here earlier, this is the book that I've been inspired by. It's Chinese Painting for Beginners, Drawing Lotus. This is an awesome book. It's made in Taiwan, and it has the bone structure, but then it also has lots of free form as well. Uh, but it has just the illustrations in here are out of sight, and it features different professors. So each professor has a different hand in the way that they create their art. And I just love it. I love it. You see this one where they were using like kind of a blue instead of green. I love that. Oh, okay. This just makes my heart sing. You see this like bushy, there's not really, they use the bone structure for the flowers, the lotus flowers, but then the leaves are just very, very loose, right? I love this look. I love that look. Um, Here's another one over here. Wow. See how fun they are? Ah, they're so fun. I'm just looking to see what else is in here. I tabbed, tab. You see how the different professors show you their technique from step, adding the different colors and everything. Isn't that nice? And so there's plenty in this book for you to practice. Now, maybe you'll recognize this one. That is what I use to create this one right here. So those were the instructions that I used to create that one. And I'm in love with it. And this is done on the practice paper. The thing with the practice paper is if you make something that you like on the practice paper, you can still mount the practice paper. Even this rice paper here, the Yasutomo sketch pad, needs to be backed because it's still thin. Once you paint on it, it's crinkly and it's not ready to go directly into a frame. You have to mount it on some other paper, a backing paper, and both of these can be mounted on a backing paper. So I just use the practice paper a lot and do a lot of painting. And then if I find one that I like this one, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to put a signature on it and I'm going to mount that. Doesn't always happen, but for that one it did. So that this was what I followed, this what they call the moku method or the moku style. That means you're not creating those bones, you're just using paint. Okay, we're going to do this right now, which is this fabulous, fabulous leaf. You see, he's working on a big piece of paper here. And so you build, there's the curled up leaf right there. So we're going to create a curled up leaf like this. And there's some brown, a little bit of green, some dark green out here, some yellow in the center. And then here's a little one of the cupules. So we're going to do a leaf and a cupule in with the colors. So I'm just sticking the book beside me here so I kind of have an idea of where we're going. And that this brush is not going to work for that very loose look, right? This is much more tight. Like, yeah, it's too small for what I want to do right now. So I'm going to set that on my brush rest. And right now I've got to grab myself a nice big bushy brush. Actually, I think I'm going to use this one. So this isn't even the biggest one I have. This isn't even the biggest one that I have, y'all. That's a nice big one. I have bigger ones than this in my other part of my studio right here. Oh, I just love them. I love the big brushy ones. So what do I have to do with this to start? I have to get it wet first. So I'm just putting it in the water. When you first get these brushes, they have starch in them, so they're really stiff. And you just have to soak it in water for a few minutes, and then you can get the starch out. And then after I get the start, I mean, after the initial rinse, I usually will use my the Masters brush soap, and I'll give it a good clean with the Masters brush soap, and then reform the tip just with my fingers while the brush is still damp. And then that way the brush will then be ready to use. All right. And when you get them brand new, let me see if I have a brand new one here. I have a whole bin of brushes here, but the funny thing is they have all been used, y'all. Even though I have like a big, this is just a part of what I have in front of me, but they've all been used. I can't show you one that's stiff from not being used because they're all in use. Okay, so I'm going to actually tap this off a little bit on a paper towel. Let me grab a paper towel here. Hold on. Um, because I don't want it to be too sopping wet. I want it to be wet, just not quite too sopping wet. So usually it holds a lot of water down here in what's called the belly of the brush. So I just want to tap the belly of the brush on my paper towel just a little bit. There's just a little bit of water there, and that's usually it's like that's perfect. So it's wet, but it's not soaking. Okay, that's what you want. That's what you want. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is I need to get myself some of that beautiful rich brown color that we're going to put on the one side of the leaf. So let me see. I've got my blacks. I am going to need my blacks and grays. I'm just going to set them aside for the moment. There we go. And what I'm looking for right now is a brown. Well, here's some green, and I just, that green's almost done. So I'm going to put some brown in with that. Look, the wind keeps, I mean, the air conditioning keeps coming on and wanting to flip my page. Don't flip my page. Come on. There we go. Now I've got it next to me, and I hope that it doesn't fall. All right, let's see here. So this was what I said, the Marie's Chinese watercolors, not Chinese watercolor, Chinese painting colors, they call it. They also have Chinese watercolor, but this is Chinese painting colors. So I'm going to take some of this one, which is 684. Like I showed before, you might not have been here, but this is the Marie's Chinese painting color. That's what you can then wet mount this afterwards because it has a little bit of glue in with the paint. And um, the tubes have the name in Chinese, but they have a number. So if you look at the number on the inside of the lid here, you can see what the color is. So this is 684, and 684 is burnt sienna. Okay. So it comes like this sealed, and this has a little thing to puncture it with here. So you just turn it down there, you puncture it. Beak. All right, there you go. Now we have the paint available. Let's put a little bit of burnt sienna in there. Nice. Now I think I want to go a little bit darker than that. So there is also in this kit a darker brown. What color is this called? Dark brown. There you go. And it is not open. Oh yeah, okay, I did use it. Yay. So it is. See, to me, the dark brown is a little bit meh by itself. So I really like to add some of the burnt sienna to it or an orange to it to get it to come alive a little bit more. Okay, so this, we're going to take a little bit of that brown and some of this light brown and kind of put them together because I don't want it to be too reddy, too reddish. There we go. We're going to go on back on top of this with a little bit of black anyway, or a little bit of gray in a little bit. So I'm not too fussed about it being, like the perfect color. So we're going to start with it here. I'm looking at my reference picture. Let me bring this over here so you can see. This is what we're working on right here. So I'm just putting that little bit of brown right there to start. Hold on. I'm messing up my other paintings. That's all right. So I'm bearing in mind there's going to be more leaf down here. This is just the top part that's sort of folded over. So you see how I'm holding the brush? Now I have all my fingers on the other side. That's okay. So this is no bone, right? Because I haven't created a shape for me to paint into. I'm using the paint itself as to create the shape. Yoo-hoo. and it is fun. Okay, I'm going to get as much of the paint back off of here and put in there as possible because right now that's all the brown that I need at the moment. So I'm going to get as much of it out of there as possible before I go to my next color. So that's the brown. Let me just bring this around. These sections need to be sort of rounded along here. Okay, good. Now, before I put it in the water, I'm going to try to get some of the color out because otherwise your water's going to get so dirty so quickly. Okay, Boop. There we go. So a lot of it came out. Nice. All right, the next thing we need is a sort of a greenish. So here I've got some of the green. Let me get a little bit more. So this green that's in here I'm just looking, I'm looking. I think it is this one right here, 562, which is their yellowish green. And then this one, 511, is their viridian. So I usually put yellowish green and viridian in the same pot. And that way I can sort of mix them around. So the yellowish green here, you can see how it has a yellow undertone, the yellowish green. So we've got the yellowish green like this. And if you're on Whatnot, I invite you to go take a look in the bin. I have lots of paintings in there. I even have some watercolor art supplies. Um, but feel free to look through there. There's a ton of paintings and things in there. Now this is green. I'm taking a little bit of the Viridian and putting it in with this. I don't want it to be too bright because this leaf is beginning to die. So I want it to be a little bit darker. And then I'm going to add to my brush. Hold on, let's do it. Let's do it. There's a hair coming out there somewhere. I want to add a little bit of this sienna. Yeet. So I'm sort of mixing it together. So instead of it being bright green, I've got sort of a yellowish green almost. It's beginning to turn to like a light olive. Okay, there, that's better. And if I need to test it, that's what that's for right there, right? Ooh, okay, I need it to be a little bit more of the sienna in there. I can see. I want it to be a little more olivey. That's why I love these big cups. These are from what are they called? Creative Mark, I think. They're out of Germany. And yeah, love these cups. Okay, I think that's probably better. Yeah, that's better. So that's more of an olivey kind of green. And the olive green, one place it goes is right along here. So you can see I'm not using the brush. This is called an oblique, holding it in an oblique manner on the side. Anywhere like this is oblique. And then this is straight when I'm holding it up and down. But right now I'm using the side of the brush here like this and coming up inside here and sort of blending those together. Nice. Okay, fab. There we go. So that way I've got the back end of that. Now I'm going to work on the other side of the leaf here. I'm going to leave the center empty because that's going to be yellow. But I do need some of this transition color up above the yellow right here, and then it's going to be darker out here. So let me take this and mix up just a little bit more of it here because it's going to be on the inside, so it's going to be slightly dark. I'm looking at my reference picture and I'm like, okay, there's a little bit out here, and then I'm bringing it on its side. There's a thing that comes down like this, and then I've got some more of it over here. And then it actually comes down like this. Okay, so this is the other side of the leaf, and there's a little bit more out here as well. So I'm just sort of building the inside bit, and then there's going to be some yellow in the middle. Let's see here. Yep. Okay. I'm going to go lightly. It's because I'm on the side. I don't know if you can see it. It's streaking. You see some of that streaking there? That's okay, because then when I put the yellow on top of it, it's going to have some really interest if there's a little bit of streaking going on there underneath the yellow. And then there'll be bits that'll be just yellow as well. Oh, I like it. I like where it's going. Okay, cool. So let me just deepen this just a little bit more. Nice. Oh, can you see a lotus leaf starting to appear? Woot, woot. I love it. Oh, and this actually has the stem comes out this way. And the stem has a little bit more of that sienna in it. So let me grab a little bit more sienna and a little bit more of that green in my brush. See how I'm working the brush? Work it, work it, work it. So it's a combo of the sienna and the green. And then I'm like, okay, let's get some more green on the brush. Now I've got like a combination of sienna and green on the brush. Perfect. Love that. And these are natural hair brushes, so sometimes they shed. So sometimes you'll see me doing this and pulling a hair out. Okay, so this, some sienna, some green, and I'm just pulling it from here and creating the stem part right there. Yeah, right? So that is the stem going into the back end of it. Nice, fabulous. I like you'll notice in my artwork oftentimes that I leave like empty spaces. So you see how there's like an empty space right here. I like to leave white space. Now, some artists that's like fingernails down a chalkboard when you do that, but I like it. I like it. I do that on purpose often. Okay, so now we've got those browns. Now we want to go more toward a greeny black. So, um, where do I want to do that in? What do I want to do that in? Just looking here. Uh, let's see. I'm just waiting for that to dry a little bit. Maybe we'll go to the yellow. I'm going to use a different brush, not this brush, for the yellow in the center. I'm going to keep this on here because I want a combination of that green, brown, and black. All right. Dee. But I'm going to go to another brush. It's still fluffy. It's just a little bit smaller. And let's get her wet because she was all dry. And then here we go. Oh, there's a hair sticking out of there. Let's get the hair out of there. Hey there, bug. Welcome in. And then you see, I usually bring it back to somewhat of a point. And then we're going to take a little bit of water out of the belly, right? Like that. And then let's get some yellow going here. So this is yellow. I've got the lemon yellow, which is the one that I said I buy, 5 at a time. This is the 215, but I want something that's a little earthier to go with the green. The lemon yellow has like a green yellow look to it, and I love that. But I'm combining it with a little bit of this other color, 218, that's in the set. So let's see, 218 is what they call light yellow, but it's a little warmer, has a little warmer feel to it. Let me see. Let's put a little bit more of it in there. Boop. You can do it. There we go. So it's not quite as greeny bright as the um, number 215. So I'm sort of combining 218 and 215. And I'm filling my brush here. And lots of hairs are coming out, but that's okay. It's all good. This is a relatively new brush. So yeah, there are a few hairs there. I don't worry too much about it. Okay, there we go. So now we want to get the yellow on the inside here. All right, so again, I'm using it oblique on its side like this. Ooh, okay. And I don't want it to go into the brown here because the brown is the leaf on the other side. It's curling over. Let's get a little more water in there. Okay. And I want the brush, see how the brush is not straight up and down? It's at an angle. That's because I'm using it on its side right now, like this, to come in here and build that part. And now I'm just integrating it up, swiping it up into the green. There we go. Yee. And we're going to be putting some gray in there. So we're bringing it all together. There we go. It's okay to have a little bit of white here. If I want to, I can just go with just the tip here. And now I'm rubbing it on the side so I can get more of a tip. And if I don't like the white, which some people don't like the white, I can just come in here with the tip and sort of get that a little bit closer, right? So it's not quite as white. I usually leave a lot of white. There's something about, I like that transition with the white in between, but okay, awesome. So that is the white, the yellow on the inside. And now we've got to come out here with something that's much darker, like a dark greeny brown. So let's go back to our big brush, back to the big brush that still has the green and the brown on it. Yahoo. But now we want to add some gray into that. So we have gray over here from before, right? So now I'm just picking up some of the gray, and that gives me like a warm, dark brown gray. Hee, love it. If I want to see what color it is, I just bring it here onto my test. Ooh, yes, nice and warm. Perfect. Perfect. So now we're going to come out here and I'm integrating. Let's see what we're doing here. Okay. Okay. I'm going to have to integrate a little bit more. It's not quite wet enough. It was a little bit dry. So let's get it just a little bit. The reason I don't want it to be all the way gray, I want a little bit of that sort of brownish gray in there, is because we're going to be putting black for the lines that go with the center, in the center of the leaf, right? Okay, let's get some more gray in there. So it's like a browny gray. Wait, it's not quite dark enough. Okay, I'm going to just take a tap of the black, not too much. See, that black is so strong. Ah! Like, no, I don't want it quite that black. That's okay. If I don't want it quite that black, I'll just add a little bit more of this sienna in with it. So I'm always playing with the color back and forth. Okay, a little bit more black. Eee! Let's see how we did. Okay, cool. That gives me more what I'm looking for. But I need a little bit of water on here because right now this brush is very dry. So when I use it, I'm getting a lot of streaks. So it's a very dry brush. So let's just put it in some water. And that way it has a little more wetness to it. All right, two things I want to do. One is I need to integrate some of this area. I need to get some of this with that same sort of darkness here. So it's like the edges of it are beginning to get frayed and dark, right? There we go. And then that will match what I'm going to do right here. So we're bringing it down and then bringing it back up here. So because the brush is more wet, I'm able to get more paint onto there. Okay, cool. I like it. I like it. Let's bring a little bit more in here. So we're integrating, all right? I want to integrate. I'm just running this little bit here along there so that I get I'm trying to sort of bring everything together. Let's just take a little bit of it on the side here so that we get the same there. So this and this talk to each other, right? Oh, I like it. I like it. I like where it's going. It doesn't look like the other artists, but they're not me. I'm not them. So our artwork's going to come out differently, and it is a okay. All right. It still looks good though. You can still tell that it is a leaf from a lotus. All right. And I want to put some marks. Let's make this a little bit darker here, right where it meets the stem, right? It's going to be a little bit darker. And then the underside of it here is also going to be a little bit darker. So I might as well use some of this darker that I have right here. I'm going to come back and I'm going to use some black because I'm going to put little dots on it, right? But at least right now I've got a little bit of a darker while I have the dark on here. Nice. Cool. I like it. I like it. I like it. All right. We still have some black that we're going to be bringing up through here. Okay. So I'm just sort of tying them together. Yes, I'm playing too much. Stop. Stop. I can tend to want to keep playing and it overworks it. Don't overwork it. Okay, so this brush is done. But if I take this brush and I whack it into here, what's going to happen? This water is going to get all messy and then I'm going to have to go change it. And I don't want to have to do that at the moment. So it's okay to just leave your brush out and let it dry and then go clean it when you're ready to clean it. Okay. Actually, I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, 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 I need a little bit more right along here. There we go. Because it needs to look like they're coming together. There we go. Okay. Sometimes it just takes a little tiny, tiny thing. Now we're going to be creating the cupule, right? Up here. So maybe I'll create the cupule where the leaves are coming off, which was like this, because I want you to, I love this color, the eosin color. Ooh, it's so pretty. So let's do something like this up here. It doesn't have to be quite so like dramatic there, right? Um, and so I'm going to take, let's see what color I have right here. I think that's sort of a light brown, light brown. I want it to be a little bit greener, little bit greener. So let's go into the green cup. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. If if you feel like your painting is usually too detailed, too tight, it's like, oh, I can't get away from the detail. How do I get away from the detail? Go with a bigger brush, y'all. If you go with a bigger brush, it's really hard to put in detail. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And I'm going to start out, I want to build the cupule. So I'm just going to, let's see, I want to put the cupule sort of over here, right? And then it's going to sort of come down. It's going to be like this, right? That's part of the cupule. And then at the top here, I want the little seeds. You want the little seeds. So I need to do a little bit of this darker brown. See, that's why I don't rinse out these cups as I'm going, because I've got more that I'm going to have to do with it. Ooh, this is like perfect. A little bit more. I'm just using the tip here to get some of these little seeds that are inside the cupule. Nice. You know what that is. You know that's the cupule and you know that that's the seeds. So while I've got this little bit of darker on here, I'm just going to put some of it down here because of course the bottom of it's going to be darker, right? And then we want to put the stem coming here. So let's do, what color do I want the stem? I think I just want the stem to be that little bit darker. like that. We'll add a little bit of green into it. There we go. So I've got my own color here. Nice. Let's go ahead. Let me do this. So I want to use this brush, and I don't want to use it like this because otherwise it'll be too thin. So I'm going to press it in here a little bit so I have a little flat area right here. And then that way I should be able to, yes, bring a stem down and then bring it here. There we go. Now we got the stem going. Is there a little bit of white there? That is perfectly fine. No fuss, no muss. You know what it is. It's the stem for the cupule, right? Yes. So we're good there. We are good. Now we still have to build like a few little petals that are coming off, right? Like the petals have mostly left. I could leave it just like this and that would be fine, but I want to add that little bit more detail to it for myself. And so I'm actually going to get this a little bit wet right now, and I'm going to add a little bit more green, just a little bit more green because I want to bring a little bit more green up through here. There we go. Nice. There was just, to me, there was too much white there for a moment. I didn't like that. Okay, so I'm going to set this brush aside because we're going to do some petals and some other goodies on there. So let me go to, let me see, this one, this one, this one, this one. That's always the hard thing. I'm just looking. Let me see, what am I going to get out of what here? I think I'll use this one. This hair, the redder hairs are a little more loose, and so they give you a little more splay. And these, which with the goat, it's mixed goat hair, and this gives you a little more control. So I think we're going to go with just a little more control at the moment. At the moment. Okay. I need to start with, oh, this color, y'all, is amazing. So it's this one right here, 390 is called Eosin, and it's kind of it's like a purpley red. Wow, it is so beautiful. But I don't want it to be I don't want it to be overly red. So I need one of these cups because right out of the tube, it's quite dense. Okay. And I don't want it to be, I don't want my brush to have so much paint in it. I want it to be a little lighter. So what am I going to do? I'm going to put it in a little cup over here, and I'm going to add some water. That's just a spray bottle. You see, it already lightened it. I don't want it to be too dark. I want it to be really wishy-washy and light. And what do? I come over here and I test it, right? Dink. Oh, look at that. Nice and light. You can always add a little bit more dark, but I'm going to start out with the light. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to put a little bit of what I want is sort of like the petals have been falling off of it. Okay. So I'm going to just do this. See how I'm holding it? And I have this other finger, I'm helping to guide it. Okay. I actually want it lighter over here, but that's okay. I'm going to start with it like this, and then we can darken it. Darken, darken, darken. And then I'm going to have one that comes over here. See, now I'm totally spitballing, but I'm spitballing from the testing that I've already been doing yesterday and today. All right. So, um, and this is without the bone, right? No bone, boneless. Okay, I want a little bit more darkness here. So I'm actually going to put a little bit more darkness right here on the edge, right? So it's lighter, darker, right at the tip. It tends to be a little bit darker at the tip. Okay, so what else? Where else? Where else? I want to just put one right here. Okay. And then there's going to be one here, just a little tiny thing, like right there. And that's four. So when I do stuff with Asian painting, it has to be done in odd numbers. So one, two, three, four, five, six. Right now we have even numbers, right? So I'm gonna have to do one more so that I have odd numbers. I'm gonna put some more, just a little bit more water on the brush and put a little bit more of that red on the end, just on the end. So I've got some lighter color here and more there. So I'm thinking I want to put one down here like it's falling, right? Because they're falling off. So, yay, that looks like it's falling. Awesome. It doesn't take a lot to make me happy, right? And these are spreading out a little bit. And I want to get a little bit more of that darkness on the tip and just adjust the tip of these just a little bit. So there's just a little bit of the darker in there. This way I can have more than one color, right? Okay, a little bit more on the tip here. And I'm just gonna do it like this. All right, that's just to help give it a little bit of dimension. Nice. And then over here, I'm gonna put a little bit more. So I'm just dipping the tip of the brush here into the eosin. Now you can see the brush is separating. If you don't want it to separate, you just get it more wet. Okay, if I get it more wet, I can get it to come together. See that? So let's get a little bit more of that eosin, the bright eosin on there. And then I'm going to bring it on the tip and just around like this. It's giving it dimension, right? It's giving that petal some dimension. But I want a little bit more there in the way of. And then this one right here. All right, so then you can see that it looks like they have some more dimension to them. All right, and I want to get a lot of water in here now in my brush because now I want just a hint of pink, just barely any pink. And I also don't want there to be too much water. So I'm gonna, oh, there's a hint of pink, a hint, because I want to use it here. That's a hint of pink right there. And then I want to use a hint of pink over here. I'm trying to give the leaves or the petals some dimension to them, okay, by doing that. All right, cool. I think I like where that's going. That's working. I want to put some of this up into here. Now I want to build a little bit of, you see how this has these little bits that were in the center of the flower? I want to take some of those. Let me show you here, for instance. You see when that cupule begins to get mature, you see how the petals fell off and there are all these little bits. So we're going to put some of those orangey bits, orangey yellow bits in there right now. And I can use this brush for that. I just have to get the pink out of it. So just use a little bit of water there to get most of the pink out. Doesn't matter if there's a little pink in there. We're just going to go grab some orange. So there are a couple of different kinds of orange in this set. My favorite one is there's a vermilion, but my favorite is the cinnabar, and that's number 398. So, 398, here we go. So let's grab this one. It's not even open yet. It's open in my other set. It's just not open in this set yet. My other set's in a box for teaching. So let me get this one. This color is called Cinnabar. You see how it's kind of a cross between pink and orange? So that's why I like this one when I'm dealing with the pink here. So let's get that on here. And it's a pinky orange. I need a little bit more pink in with, I mean, orange in with it. So I've got the vermilion here too. There we go. Then it looks sort of like a persimmon color. Yee. All right. So now we're going to build some of these in here. And I'm just sort of pressing it. I'm keeping that tip and I sort of press it and then pull it. So I've got little, the tops of them have like a little sort of, um, they're a little fatter at the top than they are at the bottom. Plus, what did we see? We saw a bunch of them that were coming down like this, right? So we're just, I'm putting it down to get a little, that little shape, and then I'm twisting it as I turn it so that I can get it to get thinner as I'm twisting. There we go. So let me just get it like that. And I want a little bit more like this, right? Now, of course, there's a lot more, it's a lot more dense. And what you can also do is change the color. Like I can go a little bit browner than this orange. I can add a little bit of this sienna in there. And that's good because then this is sienna and then this will have some sienna in there. And then they'll sort of match each other, right? They'll match each other a little bit. Okay. Nice. So we're getting the little bits right along there. Cool. Because that's what's going to happen. They're going to start to fall down like that. All right. I will work more on that off camera. I just wanted to show you sort of my thought process for doing that, but I will finish it between now and the next workshop. What I need to go back to though is right here on the leaf, because the leaf is not done yet. The leaf needs to have that little center part where this stem comes, it needs to have the lines, right? We need to put some lines in there. So to put some lines in there, let me see which brush I want to use for the lines. Yee. Okay, this one I think. So this is a goat hair brush. I could use this one, but right now it has some of that good brown and orange in it, and I want to wait um, and use this again later to finish these little hairs that I have here. Okay, so I'm just going to set that brush aside and leave it with those colors in it because I will finish that later. So with this one right here, we're getting it wet. Always start by getting it wet. There we go. Nice, nice little goat hair. And then we want to, you know what? This is not going to be the right brush because it comes to too much of a point, which is beautiful when you're doing the bone. But what I'm doing right now, I want it to be just a little bit rougher. So I'm going to use this fluffy brush. Let me see. There might be another one in here. That's a little one that might work. What about this one? I always have to get it wet to see sort of what the top looks like. Oh, that one is like way too bushy for what I need right now. That's okay. Let's use this one. So it's the bushier type because that's kind of what I want. Hey there, Bonita Dreamer. Welcome in. Welcome in. Um, so I want something that's a little bit brushier, not quite so pinpoint. And I'm going to put the black in the center there. Well, it doesn't have to be exactly black. It can be like the brownie black. So let me find the brown. And I'm going to add a little bit more black in with it. So this is my sort of gray, right? Ooh, that gray might be perfect. I may not even need to add it to the brown. Let's see. If I do add it to the brown, see, that's not quite dark enough. It's okay. I'm going to grab just a little bit more black. It's all right. I'm constantly adjusting my colors, which is why I have lots of cups around me. There we go. That is that dark enough? No, it needs just a little bit more, just a little bit more darkness, darling. Okay. And just a little bit more darkness. Okay, here we go. This was the blackety black right here that I'm dipping into right now. So you don't need a lot of the dark black. Okay. What I'm afraid of is that this is going to dry. What happens is when it dries a little bit lighter. So if it's looking like the right color right here, it's not dark enough. That's how it works. It's not dark enough. So let me go ahead and take another, this is the Sumi ink. And what I'm going to do is put one drop in here. Think, there we go. Because I only need a little bit more. Cool. And I'm just going to add a little bit of just a touch, a touch. I don't want it to be like black. I like that kind of brownie black like I have here. So let's do that. Nice. Okay, now we're where we need to be. Wait a minute. Is there a hair sticking out of there? I don't know. Couldn't tell. Okay. Now I'm looking at my reference picture, and the reference picture kind of shows we've got a little bit of this here. And then we start, it looks like it likes it just a little bit wetter. So I'm going to add just a little more water to my brush so it's a little more flowy. And then we're going to need to bring a little bit up here, right? And a little bit up this way. So you can see I'm using it sort of oblique, right? Like that. And then let me just do like a little bit more like that. A little bit more like that. Okay. That's on the back side, right? Of that leaf. And now we need to bring it to here like this, right? And we're sort of bringing it up here like this. And bring some of it up this way like this. So I'm trying not to do it just like too um matchy. It doesn't need to be like too perfect, right? Okay, like that. And then I can see their brush, like their painting was much more wet when they were doing this because everything is sort of like I've got a line here and they've got a diffused area. You can always come back in with water and sort of diffuse it as well. So I'm gonna do that. And then I'll have something coming off of here. I'll have this kind of come up this way like this. And I'm going to bring this over here. Right? It's like just play with it. See how I'm guiding the top with my ring finger on there like that. Just sort of guiding it so I can be a little more detailed with it. Okay. I'm looking. I mean, it looks good. It just I don't know. I think I want a little bit more definition in here. I don't mind where that's going right there. I think I want that kind of like that. Let's see. I want this to be a little bit deeper in there. And this, of course, is going to have another one here and another one here. There we are. All right. How does that look? It looks okay. It's going. right? Okay, not bad for a first attempt, I think. All right, cool. Right now I'm just going to put my name right here. Well, the brush is not too wet, and I know it's not too wet. There we go. So that's my signature. Well, I've got that sort of brownie black on here. And I'll be coming back up in here. I can see that with the darkness here, I'm going to have to put some darkness up in here. You can't have it all, like it's too heavy down here, the way it's looking. Now, another thing that I can add is the little hairs and dots the, um, off of here, right? Because these have like little hair on them. And so now that I have the dark, I can just do that. I can add in the little hairs and the little dots. Nice. Let's put a few more dots in here. So that's on the leaf. And then I also need to put that on the back over here. So I'm going to add some in right now to this. Right. And that will help tie those together also. There we go. Nice. All right. So I am happy with that so far. My over here, my uh, brush holder has all these brushes that have paint in them, like different levels of paint. Eee! Because I'm going to come back to those later and get them wet and use them again, even this one right here, right? So during a painting session, if I'm doing multiples, then um, I can leave the paint in there and come back and keep using it, right? Um, so that you don't have to clean the brush. Now, at the end of a session, I clean the whole brush. I take all the brushes and I use my general soap and I clean them. Okay, so that is it for this session painting with the Marie's Asian paints and using the different types of rice paper, using the Asian brushes and the Sumi ink and how to put that all together, doing some of the bone work, which is just doing the illustrative outlines first, and then using that as a way to um, get the idea of the shapes and then coming back in and doing this more loose, I think they call it wagyu method, but the loose method where you don't have the all those lines built for you first. And I really like this loose method, but oftentimes I have to do practice in the bone method first to get familiar and caught up with the designs that I'm working with before I move into this very loose type of effect. But I want to thank you for joining me this evening, and that is it um, for the painting part of the show.